Hi everybody, it's Catherine, and I wanted to jump on today because, and this is a little bit impromptu, I wanted to share something that I learned this week, and that if it's useful to you, I want to know, obviously, from you, and if this relates to you, please let me know that as well. But I'm constantly in conversation with all of you who are grieving, those of you who reach out to me, those that I meet just in everyday life. And my conversations are a lot about grief because it's what I know. It's what I talk about. All of my conversations tend to go to grief in one way or another. So anyways, a couple times this week, I had people share with me that they didn't want to talk about their grief. And for me, I was a little bit taken aback because I talk about grief and the process so much, like I said, in all of my conversations. And so when I hear that someone is hurting, that they've lost someone that they love, my first impulse is to jump in and to say, let's talk. Let's work some of this out. Let's let's dive in. Let's do the work. Let's get you through this. Because I know the pain of grief. And so I want to help. And sometimes I help when I'm trying to help. It might come off not exactly the way that I intended it. And so I noticed a pattern this week. There were 2 incidents. And so when I notice something like that, I say, okay, maybe I need to dive into this. So that's what I did. So 2 times this week, I reached out to people who I knew had had a loss, and the losses were relatively recent. And I said, I'm here. If you want to talk, let's talk. Because I want to help, right? And in both of the instances, one woman said, I'm just not ready to talk. And I don't know when I'm going to be ready to talk. I just need to be on my own. And the other person said, there was just so much and there's so much emotion. I can't talk right now. I don't know, maybe. And I was a little taken aback because I was like, no, let's talk, because that's what makes everything better, or at least that's what I was thinking. But I think we have to be sensitive to where we are in our grief journey, and how, this is so new. If you're early in grief, it's so new. And it can be super overwhelming, and there can be so much emotion and so much confusion and, that initial shock and all of that we might not be ready to talk. And I think I used to think that, talking is the only way through grief. And I think that it is after a period of time, but maybe not necessarily in the beginning. So anyways, I did some research. And so I found some interesting articles, and I just took some notes from some of them. But people have different feelings about talking about their grief, right? And particularly if it's dealing with guilt or shame or the things that they're feeling, not everyone is quite as extroverted as I am in wanting to talk things out. Like, I believe in talking things out. That's how I process things. I talk. But not everybody's like that. And for some people, even being in a group, or even talking to a stranger, or even talking to the people that they care about, about things that are so near to their heart, it can create anxiety and it can be difficult. And so I want to take a second and acknowledge, if that's you, that I've learned that this week. And so I also found the phrase that was written here, and I'm just going to read it. It says, silent or independent coping is not the same as bottling it up, withdrawing, or isolating. So I always say you don't want to avoid your grief, particularly long term. If you avoid your grief, it will always come back to get you. It'll bite you in the ass, so to speak. It will rear its ugly head in a variety of ways. So avoidance of grief is never a good thing. Bottling up your grief, pushing your emotions aside, pushing them down, not good. Withdrawing And again, this is withdrawing for too long, isolating yourself for too long is not a good thing. If you're doing it, in the beginning, because you're like trying to process what's going on and you're like, hey, I just need to take a beat and I need a minute, and you can take time to withdraw and to isolate, I think that that's a good thing. And I think periodically throughout your grief process, to be able to withdraw and isolate and look within is a good thing. But isolating and withdrawing for long periods of time and not going out of the house and not getting off the couch, that's not the same as what we're talking about here, right? So she mentioned silent or independent coping. So if you're somebody who's silent, who's in a position where you don't want to talk about your grief, but you're sort of processing and you're thinking through things, then I think you're okay. And that's an okay place to be. At some point, you will get to where you can talk about it, where you need to process it, where you need to share what your experience is, because I think that's such an important part of the grief journey, is being able to share it. One, for your own self to acknowledge, like, this is what I've gone through and this is what I've experienced. But then to share your experience with other people, so that they can know what you went through and so that they can learn, and we can all learn from what you went through, and to know that talking about grief when you are ready is an okay thing to do. But if you're early in your grief and you don't want to talk and you need some time alone, or you're in the process of your grief and every now and again you need to take a beat and you need to isolate, I want to say that that's okay. And so please share with me, if that's you, share with me what that's like. Teach me a little more about you specifically, because that's, again, how I learn and how I grow and how I help you and help everyone else even more. Because, again, I don't know it all. I am constantly trying to learn. And when this popped up this week, and I said, there's something here that I need to learn. And so I went and I did some research. And so that's what I found. Now, again, I have created this journal. This is a grief journal. If you're in the mode where you don't want to talk, maybe journaling is something that you could try. Again, you don't have to. It's a solution. It's an option. It's an alternative that you can try, and maybe it will help. And whether it's in a journal or just on a piece of paper, either is fine. I talk a lot about the stream of consciousness writing, where when you wake up in the morning, you just start writing, like dumping everything that's in your head out on a piece of paper. That's very therapeutic as well. And I often talk about that in some of my videos. But getting some of it out, I am doing more videos on how to use this. If you are interested in a Zoom call to walk through how to use this journal, I'm doing it in my Facebook group on November 7th. The Facebook group is Grief Inspired, No One Should Grieve Alone. So if you want to join that group, you can jump into our event, and I'll have more. If for some reason you don't have the journal yet, you want to get one, these are available on Amazon. There's a link in the comment section below. I can do it again. It doesn't have to be a one and done. If you want to talk to me directly and you need some support in how to use this journal, or maybe it's to talk about some things that you've uncovered as you've been using the journal, happy to support you in that. You can leave me comments here. You can email me at griefeinspired@gmail.com. And as always, thank you for watching my videos. Leave comments, suggestions, leave more questions. I'm creating videos that answer people's specific questions. So if you have a question that is burning on your heart, ask it here, and I will make sure that I get that answered for you in another video. Thanks everybody for now. Bye.